Welcome to hell. Let's take a trip down memory lane to the early 90s. The year was 1993, a time of flannel shirts, grunge music, and the birth of a gaming titan that would change the face of video games forever. A game that would set the bar for all first-person shooters to follow. That game was none other than DooM. DooM was the brainchild of ID Software, a small but ambitious team of developers who dared to dream big. It was a game that was groundbreaking in so many ways. It introduced us to a whole new world of gaming, one where you, the player, were thrown into the heart of the action, facing off against hordes of demonic enemies in a fight for survival. The game was a radical departure from the norm. In a time when most games were still two-dimensional, DooM was one of the first to introduce a fully three-dimensional environment. It gave us a sense of scale, depth, and immersion that was unprecedented at the time. But it wasn't just the graphics that set DooM apart, it was also the gameplay. DooM was faster, more brutal, more intense than anything we had seen before. It was a game that didn't hold your hand, that demanded quick reflexes and strategic thinking. It was a game that rewarded exploration and punished recklessness. And then there was the atmosphere. The dark corridors, the ominous music, the terrifying enemies. DooM was a game that could make your heart pound and your palms sweat. It was a game that could scare you, thrill you, challenge you. But perhaps most importantly, DooM was a game that captured our imaginations. It took us to places we had never been before, showed us things we had never seen. It made us feel like heroes, like warriors, like conquerors. It made us feel alive. And so, in the world of video games, a new era was born. An era where games were no longer just about scoring points or completing levels. An era where games could be experiences, adventures, journeys. This marked the beginning of a new era in the world of gaming, an era of DooM. DooM, released in 1993, changed the face of gaming forever. This was not just another game, it was a revolution. It redefined what a first-person shooter could be, and in doing so, it set the stage for decades of gaming innovation. DooM was a game of many firsts. It pioneered the concept of non-linear level design. This was a radical departure from the linear, corridor-based levels of earlier first-person shooters. In DooM, players could explore sprawling, labyrinthine maps, finding secret areas and hidden power-ups. This gave the game a sense of freedom and exploration that was unheard of in the genre. But perhaps the most groundbreaking feature of DooM was its multiplayer mode. This was the first time players could connect their computers together and play against each other in a virtual arena. This was a game changer. It was the birth of competitive gaming as we know it. It brought a new level of social interaction to gaming, allowing players to compete, cooperate, and communicate in ways that were simply not possible before. The game mechanics of DooM were also revolutionary. The game's fast-paced, run-and-gun gameplay was a far cry from the slow, strategic gameplay of earlier shooters. DooM's enemies were relentless, constantly charging at the player, forcing them to think on their feet and make split-second decisions. This made the game incredibly intense and adrenaline-pumping. And let's not forget the game's iconic arsenal. From the trusty shotgun to the devastating BFG 9000, DooM's weapons were as memorable as they were effective. They gave players the power to fight back against the hordes of hell, turning them from helpless victims into unstoppable demon slayers. DooM also boasted a dark and atmospheric aesthetic, with its grimy industrial settings and grotesque enemy designs. This gave the game a sense of horror and dread that added to its intensity. The original DooM set the bar high for its successors. It was a game that dared to be different, and in doing so, it changed the world of gaming forever. It was more than just a game, it was a cultural phenomenon, a statement of intent from a young and ambitious industry eager to push the boundaries of what was possible. And it's a testament to the game's enduring appeal that, even today, DooM remains as popular and influential as ever. Just a year later, in 1994, DooM II, Hell on Earth hit the gaming world. This sequel was not just a follow-up, it was a statement, a testament to the prowess of ID Software, and a beacon for where the first-person shooter genre was heading. DooM 2 continued the adrenaline-pumping, demon-slaying action that had made the original game a sensation, but it wasn't merely a rehash of the first DooM, far from it. DooM 2 brought new elements to the table, enhancing the experience while staying true to the roots of the franchise. The most noticeable addition was the introduction of new enemies. These weren't just reskins of old foes. Each one had unique abilities and behaviors that required players to rethink their strategies. The Revenant, with its homing missiles, The Mancubus, with its widespread fireballs, and the terrifying Arch-Vile, capable of resurrecting fallen enemies, were among the new adversaries that kept players on their toes. The sequel also showcased innovative level design. The sprawling, labyrinthine maps of the original game were replaced with more intricate, interconnected environments, creating a more immersive experience. The levels were no longer just mazes to navigate, they were battlegrounds, arenas of combat that demanded strategic thinking and quick reflexes. In many ways, Doom 2 was an expansion of the foundation laid by its predecessor. The core mechanics remained the same. Players still navigated through levels, picked up weapons and power-ups, and battled demons. But the sequel added a layer of complexity to these mechanics. The new monsters and level designs challenge players to adapt and evolve their playstyles. And let's not forget the Super Shotgun, a new weapon that quickly became a fan favorite. Its widespread and high damage output made it a staple of the Doom arsenal, a weapon that players would carry with them through the hordes of hell and back again. So, while Doom laid the groundwork, Doom 2 built upon it, expanding the universe, deepening the gameplay, and pushing the boundaries of what a first-person shooter could be. Doom 2, while maintaining the core mechanics, added a new layer of complexity to the series. Now for my personal favorite classic Doom game. It all started in 1995 when Midway Games and ID Software joined forces. Their mission? To craft a unique Doom experience exclusively for the Nintendo 64. What made Doom 64 special was that it wasn't just a simple port of the original game. No, it was an entirely new beast, born from the creative minds of a fresh team of developers. As the concept evolved, with a new team of developers, Doom 64 began to take shape. What made Doom 64 stand out from its predecessors? Well, the evolution of enemies and weapons played a significant role. The developers took it upon themselves to give the enemies a complete makeover. The sprites were revamped, and the result was darker, more menacing foes that made your heart pound just a little bit harder. But it wasn't just the enemies that got an upgrade. The weapons did too. A standout addition was the Unmaker. This unique weapon, absent in previous Doom games, added a new layer of strategy and excitement to the gameplay. So you see, Doom 64 was not just another Doom game, it brought fresh elements to the table. So how did the Doom community receive this new entry? Initially, the reception was mixed. The game's darker tone and divergent art style were a departure from its predecessors, leaving fans unsure of how to react. However, as time went on, appreciation for Doom 64 began to grow. The game's unique charm and challenging gameplay won over the skeptics, and it eventually garnered a cult following. Fast forward to 2020, and the game was re-released, giving a fresh generation of gamers the chance to experience the thrill of Doom 64. This re-release further solidified the game's legacy and its standing as a beloved classic. Despite its rocky start, Doom 64 has left an indelible mark in the Doom franchise. So what have we learned? We've explored the unique development of Doom 64, its innovative features like revamped enemies and new weapons, and its enduring legacy within the Doom franchise. From its conception to its legacy, Doom 64 remains a distinctive chapter in the Doom saga. 10 years on, and the world of Doom takes a dramatic turn, steering away from the familiar fast-paced action of its predecessors, and delving into the depths of horror. This shift in direction was a bold move, a gamble, some might say, but one that ultimately paid off. Doom 3, unlike the first two games, chose to slow things down. It traded the frenzied gunplay and hordes of demons for a more measured, suspense-filled approach. The game was no longer about mowing down monsters in rapid succession, it was about surviving in an environment that was out to get you, where every dark corner could harbor an unseen threat. The mechanics of Doom 3 were a stark departure from what fans had grown accustomed to. Instead of an arsenal of weapons at your disposal from the get-go, you were forced to scavenge for resources, adding a new layer of strategy to the gameplay. Health and armor pickups were no longer scattered generously across the map, turning each encounter into a potential life-or-death situation. But perhaps the most notable deviation was the game's focus on narrative. For the first time in the series, Doom 3 introduced a story-driven campaign, complete with cutscenes and voice acting.
The board authorized you? The board doesn't know the first thing about science.
The simplistic find the exit objective of the past was replaced with a more complex plot line, giving players a reason to fight beyond mere survival. And let's not forget the graphics. Doom 3 was a showcase of the latest technological advancements in gaming. Its use of dynamic lighting and shadow effects created an atmosphere of dread that was palpable, making the game as much a visual experience as it was a gameplay one. Despite the changes, Doom 3 was still unmistakably Doom. The iconic demons, the signature weapons, the hellish landscapes, they were all there, albeit presented in a new light. The game may have strayed from the beaten path, but it did so with confidence, creating a unique experience that would leave a lasting impact on the franchise. Doom 3 marked a departure from the series' roots, but it was a bold step forward. After a long hiatus, Doom made a triumphant return in 2016. The reboot was a much-needed adrenaline shot to the franchise, taking the series back to its roots while incorporating modern gaming mechanics. When we look at the 2016 reboot, we can't help but notice the stark contrast with its predecessor, Doom 3. Doom 3 took a slower, more narrative-driven approach, leaning into survival horror aspects. But the reboot? It was like a roller coaster ride through the depths of hell, full of high-octane action and relentless demon slaying. The reboot didn't just bring back the fast-paced action that was the series' hallmark, it amplified it. With a new system called push-forward combat, players were encouraged to charge into the fray rather than hide and seek cover. This was a stark departure from many modern shooters, which often promoted a more cautious, cover-based approach. In terms of mechanics, the reboot introduced several new features that added layers to the gameplay. Glory kills, brutal finishing moves that replenish health and ammo, added a tactical depth to the carnage. The game also introduced a weapon upgrade system and rune challenges, mini-games that rewarded players with significant power-ups. The level design was another area where the reboot shone. The sprawling, multi-layered maps were reminiscent of the original games, encouraging exploration and rewarding players with hidden secrets and power-ups. This was a far cry from the linear corridors of Doom 3. But perhaps what resonated most with fans was the reboot's unabashed embrace of its identity. It was a game that knew exactly what it was: a fast, fun, and utterly brutal demon-slaying romp. It didn't take itself too seriously, and it didn't shy away from its over-the-top violence and gore. The 2016 reboot managed to capture the essence of the original games while updating the formula for the modern era. It was a love letter to the fans who grew up playing the original games, and a welcome introduction for newcomers to the series. With Doom 2016, the series made a glorious return to form. In 2020, the Doomslayer returned in Doom Eternal. Doom Eternal, the latest installment in the franchise, took the gaming world by storm, standing as a testament to the evolution of the series. The game expanded on the already rich and intense gameplay mechanics of its predecessors, crafting an experience that was both familiar and refreshingly new. Doom Eternal's mechanics and features were a masterstroke in game design. The more demons you destroy, the more health and ammo you earn, and it was a hit with fans. The game also introduced a host of new enemies, each with its own unique abilities and weaknesses. These new foes added an extra layer of strategy to the game, forcing players to think on their feet and adapt their tactics on the fly. From the fire-breathing Dread Knights to the teleporting Prowlers, every new enemy was a thrilling challenge to overcome. But what's a Doom game without an arsenal of over-the-top weapons? Doom Eternal delivered in spades, offering a wide array of destructive tools for the Doomslayer to wield. The beloved Super Shotgun made a return, now equipped with a meat hook that allowed players to pull themselves towards enemies. The BFG 9000 was, of course, present and more devastating than ever. Not to mention the addition of the Crucible, a demonic energy sword that could slice through enemies like butter. The game's world was also expanded, with the Doomslayer journeying to new realms beyond Mars and Hell. Players were treated to a grand tour of the cosmos, from the shattered remnants of Earth to the heavenly spires of Urdok. Doom Eternal pushed the series to new heights, offering the most intense and immersive Doom experience yet. With its expanded mechanics, new enemies and weapons, and larger-than-life settings, Doom Eternal was a triumphant return for the Doomslayer, and a shining example of how to evolve a classic franchise while staying true to its roots. The Doom series has always had a special place in the hearts of gamers. The mere mention of the name Doom is enough to send a shiver of nostalgia down the spine of any seasoned player, as they are instantly transported back to those early days of first-person shooters, where it all began. Over the years, Doom has evolved, but it has also remained a constant. It's a marker of how far we've come in the world of gaming, but also a reminder of the roots from which we've sprung. A testament to the enduring allure of its simple yet thrilling mechanics, the original Doom games are still as playable and enjoyable today as they were back in the 90s. Each new game in the series has been a journey back to the heart of what made us fall in love with Doom in the first place. The adrenaline rush of facing down hordes of demons, the satisfaction of mastering a level, the thrill of discovering a secret area. These are experiences that have become part of our collective gaming memory. The Doom series has indeed aged, but like a fine wine, it has aged gracefully. Its pixelated graphics and MIDI soundtrack, which were once cutting edge, now carry a charming retro appeal. Yet, despite their age, these games have lost none of their intensity or their ability to captivate players. The love for Doom is not merely rooted in nostalgia though, it's also a testament to the timeless quality of the games themselves. Their solid design, immersive gameplay, and the sheer fun factor ensure that they continue to resonate with gamers, both old and new.